Welcome to Hypnotherapy with Regression Demonstrated, taking a client from I've never met them to they've got the outcomes that they were looking for. Our demonstration subject is Cece. This is one out of a series of 5 YouTube videos extracted from my courses. To get the full versions, get my initial courses, Hypnotherapy Demonstrated and Hypnotherapy with Age Regression on Udemy or at my website. For advanced courses and personal hypnotherapy sessions with me, go to my website, the Past Life Awakening Institute. This is video 3. This covers the second session with a regression to causative emotions and events. Watch as we help the inner child with the wise adult and review and rewrite past events. Welcome to the call. Good to see you again.
Good to see you as well.
Yeah. Okay,
Hi.
so how things been?
Right after the session, I was a giddy little schoolgirl. I was just all silly and happy.
A pre-session interview was done but omitted in this YouTube version. It is given in the full course version available on Udemy or at my website. In a moment, you can imagine or recall a moment earlier on in your childhood with one of your first friends. A hypnotic induction was done but is omitted in this YouTube version. It is given in the full course version available on Udemy or at my website. Second session, regression to a childhood friend. You may not have thought of this person for some time, but soon you can recall a first or early childhood friend. You can let one specific moment with one specific friend come up. So a 3, drifting back. 2, allow one specific childhood friend come into focus. Bring that into focus and step into that moment. So first impression, is that friend a boy or a girl?
A girl.
And how old are you there in that moment?
12, 11 or 12.
Okay. So we'll say 12. And 12, you're with that girl. And where is this morning, afternoon, evening?
Afternoon.
Whereabouts are you there?
We're in my backyard at the pool.
Okay. And so look around, notice what you see, notice what you hear. What's happening there?
She's at the top of the pool, acting like she's a fashion model, going back and forth. Very cute.
Okay. And what are you doing there?
I'm sitting with my feet in the pool, just watching her laughing.
Okay. So you're watching her laughing. So how are you feeling there?
I'm having fun. I'm enjoying myself.
Okay. Okay. And so notice the face of that first friend. And as she's putting on a show and you're watching and smiling and enjoying, and notice the feedback between the two of you. You're laughing, does she laugh and respond to you? What happens?
Yes, she's smiling and laughing, doing the same thing.
Okay. And so and so notice the sense of connection between the two of you. How's that connection?
We're just ourselves with each other.
Okay.
We're just having fun,
Okay.
being silly.
Okay. So she feels free to put on a show and pretend to be a model. And is she doing this with like some ego or some uh, any qualities within it, or is it just really?
No,
Yeah,
it's just having fun,
yeah.
just being silly and having fun.
Okay, and she feels free to act and do silly things in front of you. She
Yep,
know.
and then jump into the pool.
Right, okay, so she knows she can do this in front of you, and you won't judge her negatively, or who do you think you are, or oh, you think you'll spit, nothing like that. She know.
Everything's great.
Yeah. So you're not judging her, even if it's silly, and she's feels free to be herself, and she appreciates the way you're responding to her, and you respond to her in the way it was intended by her. She's playing around. And so then what happens next? You jump in the pool and you play together.
And then it's my turn to go
Okay.
up to the top and do the same thing.
Okay. So you take turns. And so what happens next as you do that?
We both laugh, and then I jump into the pool.
Okay. Okay. And so as you do it, how do you feel as you do it? And how did you respond to it?
We're just laughing.
Yeah.
There's no such, I don't even know of any other words other than happy, and there's no darkness around it whatsoever. It's all happiness. It's all fun and free, and we just are.
Okay. That's beautiful. So you're 12 years old, you're playing this game. And in the adult world, models sometimes take themselves a bit seriously, or there can be some darkness in that industry as well as a lot of light. But here you're both playing around, not taking it too seriously, and having a good time and enjoying your environment. You've got a nice backyard there, a nice pool to play in. And so as you look at it as well, notice the backyard and then even back then, did you realize like, oh, this is a pretty nice place to be in? You appreciate the environment you're in?
uh, Looking back, I do, but being there,
Yeah,
it it just was, and it was fun.
yeah, exactly. And so you like this is normal. I sort of take it for granted. "Oh, this is how things are. Looking back, I know this is a nice place, and not everyone gets a nice backyard and a swimming pool, but it's a cool place to hang out. And so we can have even that appreciation and looking back. And so notice as you have that sense of connection and friendship between each other. You're a friend to yourself as well. It could have been that, oh, she's performing and I'm the audience. That it was you're both performing, you're both having fun, you both got your time in the spotlight, you both appreciated and were supportive of each other. You weren't judgmental. You had a nice place to be and you can appreciate and enjoy it. So that your subconscious can remind you of old friends and you can have this connection and feel this childlike energy and purity of laughing, joyful, playful friendliness and happiness, and so can saturate this because your subconscious can remind you of old friends and gather positive inner resources because you're connecting with your subconscious mind. And that friend can be a good friend to you, and your subconscious can be a good friend to you too. So, is there anything else that happens next in that story, or is that enough for now? And what can that just tell
My
you?
mom tells me I'm not allowed to hang out with her anymore
Okay,
because she's a couple years younger than I am.
okay. When did you say this? Is this on that same afternoon?
Yes.
Okay. So there's a bit of a bittersweetness. That was such a fun afternoon. But mum says we can't hang out anymore that very day. She's too young. Does that make any sense? She's a couple years younger?
It made no sense. It made no sense.
Yeah. So is that a
Confused.
confusing? Okay, interesting. Yeah. So you're given a reason, and so is that something that, looking back, or that afterwards you sort of had other afternoons where you were just on your own and it wasn't as much fun, and you're like, oh, where's that friend? I wish you could come. Did that happen?
I've I've always I'm always having fun. I'm always finding a way to have fun, and I just did miss her though. Yes.
Okay, so were you able to have other older people or people your exact age come over instead?
No.
Okay,
No, there was another girl neighbor who lived a couple houses down who was maybe 5 years older than I was, and I was allowed to hang out with her.
Oh, that makes even less sense about the age difference with the first one, isn't it?
Mm.
Okay. So I couldn't, did you have fun with that one as well, or
It was a different fun.
different? Okay. And so there can be, as we go through these times, a bit of bittersweetness. So it's sweet to find that afternoon with that 12-year-old when you're 12. That other one's a little bit younger. So it was a very fun, happy, laughing time. But it was also the last time I hung out with her for reasons that don't make any sense because my mum came up with this rule. I had fun anyway, but it was sort of different. So there's an interesting metaphor and meaning in that story. It's interesting, isn't it?
Mm.
Is there, even as you get that story, uh, we can notice what that can tell you. And that can be something that we can be illustrated as we find more stories. And so for now, we can leave that scene and appreciate all the information we got from it. Second session, wise adult. And now we can go to another time or place. We can exhale, release, and let go on that scene. We'll keep the wisdom and insights and maybe refer back to it. But for now, there can be times in your life. And that was a positive, happy time with a childhood friend, but there can be some bittersweet element. Now we can go to some apparently negative events in life. But these can be times where it more affected other people. And in that time, you acted like a wise adult who was able to help them. Maybe you weren't an adult, but you could bring some wisdom and consolation or some insight. Maybe it was a time when you were neutral or you weren't really affected yourself, but someone else close to you experienced some pain. Maybe it's like helping a sibling through a reality of life, like when a pet dies or a younger friend. Maybe a friend of yours had a relationship breakup and they needed some help and consolation or perspective, and you were able to give them some wisdom and be with them. Maybe you helped yourself through a time that was challenging then, but you healed with time, and looking back on it, you had some words to your younger self with a fresh perspective. So maybe you helped, probably helped others, maybe yourself, but for now, you can follow your breathing back. And with 3, drifting back to a time with 2, likely when you help somebody else with some perspective, acting as a wise adult to them. So with 1, let 1 come into focus. And with 0, step into that scene, that moment now. First impression, what comes up there?
My brother and I are sitting face to face on chairs. We're little. We're
Okay, how old are you there?
maybe 11 and 9 again. 11.
Okay, you're 11, he's 9, face to face on chairs. And whereabouts are you there?
We're in our house in Germany.
Okay, in the house in Germany. And well, what's happening there?
I'm telling him how I want to be a singer and I want to do music. And he starts crying because he thinks that I get everything and he gets nothing. And and I just think he's the silliest thing for thinking that because oh, I love him so much.
Okay, interesting. So he feels like you get everything he doesn't, and he's silly. So what can you tell that person then to help him?
That he's amazing. Tommy's amazing. Oops, I used a word. I used his name. Uh,
That's okay, I can edit.
he's amazing. He can do it too. He can sing with me. I'm bringing him wherever I go.
Okay.
Even though I'm not anywhere. But I told him I'd take him wherever I go.
Okay. And so notice he's got that thought in himself. Oh, she's got and so as you hear that thought, notice he's got this thought in his mind, and you know, oh, that's not really true. Well, that's a kind of maybe a limiting belief. I can see how, can even see how he might think it, and how do you help him overcome that limiting belief?
Oh, I'm confused, first of all, because I am just talking. I'm not doing anything. I'm just saying my dreams and what I want. And
Yeah.
he sees that as as if I already have it.
Okay.
And I'm just letting him know how much I love him and he can have everything too. And I'm taking him with me wherever I go so he can have everything as well.
Okay. Okay.
I'm
And
protecting him.
yeah. And how does he respond to that?
He stops crying. He stops crying and he starts singing.
Okay. And so, and what wisdom do you then give him about life?
Ah, is it wisdom when I say that I'd always want to protect him?
Yeah. But it's also,
If anything, I'm enabling him.
yeah. Well, part of it is like he feels that because you've said your dream, it's as if you already have it. But you can say, hey, I just because I said I want it doesn't mean I have it. But you could say you want it as well. If you want it, then we'd both be saying it, and we could at least try it out. And so he goes from crying to singing. And so if you say you want to do something, I want to sing. Well, you could do that in 10 years. You could do it right now. And
Yeah.
so he got, that's the wisdom you taught him. Oh, I'm crying because you'll be singing in 10 years and I won't. You're like, hey, I'm not singing now. I'm just talking about my dreams. Well, why don't we live our dream in about 5 seconds? Okay, let's start singing. Wipe away the tears. Let's sing together. And he starts singing. Do you sing with him?
I don't think no, I'm I'm still looking at him and I'm smiling. I love him so much.
Okay. Okay. And so notice that. And so even he goes ahead, you inspired him to sing. So he found his voice. And he was, and so how does he look as he's singing? And you're sending
He's
that,
happy.
yeah. Okay, so he went from crying and sad to singing and happy,
Yeah.
thanks to your intervention and what you're able to say, and the love that you're able to say it with. And so you taught him a lot. And so there can be things like, it can feel bad for this moment, but you can get over this moment and you can just act and do the things you want to do. You don't have to feel blocked from doing them. Oh, because I'm doing them, you can't. That doesn't really make sense. I'm confused. I get everything and you get nothing. Well, what? That doesn't really make sense. And so this is a message you can clearly give to him. And you can notice how they respond. And you can notice that this adult self of yours is able to help other people and to look at things objectively and to cut through limiting beliefs or things which kind of a bit confusing. They don't make too much sense. But there are some limiting beliefs we can have inside ourselves, some things that don't make sense that can confuse us or put us off. We know I can just have this clarity and connect with this loving feeling I have for him. I can connect with this loving feeling from my spirit guide, and I can connect with this loving feeling that may be an inherent background reality that's part of my overall being. And so, this wise adult self, you can apply to help your brother. You can bring this wise adult ability to assist your own self too. So, just as you can look at your little brother and think, oh, I love him a lot, can you imagine looking at yourself there, at 11 years old you, saying your dreams, inspiring your brother to sing? Can you imagine? You can look out your eyes and see your brother. Can you imagine looking outside of yourself a little bit, but then looking at that little girl, that little 11-year-old you, and send the same kind of love you sent to your brother, but sending it to yourself this time. What
Yeah.
happens is what happens as you do that?
I want to protect her,
Yeah.
shield her from all the horrible things.
Can can you can part of that protection just be through love and
Yeah.
through and can part of it be through clarity? Like maybe your brother says, "Oh, I'm crying, I can't get this," and you get that and I don't, and you sort of go, "Oh, brother, what are you thinking?" And can that younger you, maybe she has limiting beliefs, or I can't do this, or he gets that, and can you look at her and go, "Oh, dear self."
she she feels right. She's the one who should be teaching me. Honestly.
Yeah, that's great. We can, and what can she teach you?
It doesn't matter what people think.
Yeah,
People are gonna think whatever they think anyways. Just stay who you are. Don't hide.
okay. Now that's so interesting, isn't it? Because part of you says, I want to protect her from the world, which is a can be a bit of rough and tumble place. On the other hand, don't worry about what people think and don't hide. So protection could mean a hide away, lock, but it doesn't really. It's like you can be protected, but also not hide. That's interesting, isn't it? Maybe they seem slightly contradictory, but they're really not. Can can you get what? How would you put that message into your own words?
Balance.
Yeah,
What is there's a balance. We're accepting of how the world is,
yeah,
finding your way through it.
yeah. Okay. So let that wise, then there's a wise adult self that can manifest through the 11 years you, and she can teach you. And this is a wonderful wisdom that can transcend time and age, balancing, accepting how the world is, finding a way through it, not hiding away, but taking care of yourself nonetheless, but not through hiding. And so you're doing great. You can have this wisdom, this teaching energy that can see the scene and help your brother and help yourself. And this can help you. So as we can go through and look at how the world is, which has ups and downs, the rough and the smooth, and we can find a way through it. And so we can look now perhaps at some key emotions. Regression to an initial time. And so now we can go to a next significant time. And so that can be probably a time, it might be before, who knows, but probably afterwards. So you can go to that feeling and you can notice if that feeling where it's like, oh, here we go again, shocked and confused. Now, there may be, we talked about anger, fear, worry, doubt. There may be another time or place, another one, and with a different feeling, or maybe just the shocked, confused. She doesn't like me. She doesn't care about me. We can go to a next significant time. So with 3, as I count you back with 2, going to a next time, a significant time with 1, feeling that emotion, shocked, confused, not like. So following that emotion back, it's connected to your main issue. So letting 1 come into focus. Now, first impression, Where are you there?
I'm in the bathroom in our summer house in Arkansas.
Okay.
I open up my jewelry box, my makeup box. I was given a gift from a relative and it was broken. It was intentionally broken.
Okay.
I know she did it. Why else would it be broken? It was so put away nicely with all my stuff.
Okay. What age are you there?
13.
13. Okay. So 13. And so notice the feelings or thoughts there. And was there a shock? Like, I put my jewelry away nicely. How on earth could it have been broken? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So what is that feeling there? Yeah. Okay. Okay. And so there's confusion. I don't understand. It's a feeling of deep knowing. And then what after that confusion, though, obviously there's tears. Is it sadness? Is it anger? Is it worry, fear? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. 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 So that emotion, is that a sadness? Or what else? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. And so there at 13 in Arkansas with the broken jewelry. And so that's in, so we can play that forward a little bit. What is there anything that happens next? How does that scene end? Do you ever find out definitively? Do you ask her about it? Okay. 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 And so, do you think there's any possibility that it could have been anyone or anything else? Okay. So, and okay. And so, do you feel she went in intentionally to break something to hurt you, to take something away from you? Okay. Okay. And so then this key thing, it's like I keep coming back, is it's sadness, worry, but we've got fear is one, but also even more than sadness or loss or anything, it's like confusion because what did I do? And then lost becomes a key one because if I don't know what I did, then I don't want to have this feeling. So how can I act differently so this doesn't happen? But if there's no reason for it, then there's no way out of it. How do I get out of this feeling? And it's like, well, maybe I did something bad, and if I do that, then I get punished, so I'll just be good. But I was being good anyway. I didn't, there's no way I can fix this by acting differently because I was acting as good as I can anyway. So that is a real trick and a trap, isn't it? Does it feel like that? So that's part of the lost. I can't find my way out of this. It's never enough because what I was doing was fine anyway. So, so as you notice that, notice the thoughts and feelings that you've got, and you can progress that story, or we can go through and we can see if there are any other causative times. Regression to a significant time. We can go through and we can see if there are any other causative times. It can be the first time we go to, I'm being shooed away by her at 4. It can be at 13, I'm being punished or having something taken from me, and I don't understand why. Can there be
I,
an yeah?
my brother's graduation from the Marine Corps.
Okay.
I'm 19.
Yes.
We're in San Diego on the bleachers.
Yeah.
While I was still in, before I moved to California, right before I left, my mom gave me a pair of diamond earrings.
Yeah.
While we were sitting in the bleachers watching my brother's graduation, it was me, my dad, and my boyfriend at the time. And she was ignoring me all up until that time. She came from Arkansas. My dad came from Germany. I came from Los Angeles. We were in San Diego. Hadn't seen each other in a while. And she just said to me, demanded of me, give me those diamonds, give me those earrings. Just held out her hand in front of everyone. Just mean.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand why. And so I just took the earrings out and I gave them to her.
Yeah. That's it. What's that emotion, that feeling there?
What did I do?
Yeah. Okay.
Why is she so mean to
Yeah. Okay. So there's still that question. It still doesn't make sense. So that's still that why is still the big thing. But the actual feeling, was it humiliation, embarrassment, sadness? Was it anger, fear? What were the emotions going through your body then and now?
me? Why is she so mean to me? Confusion. I don't understand.
Yeah.
I'm not angry.
Yeah.
I just don't understand. And I wanna understand because I wanna make it better.
Yeah. Okay. Can you have a so and what are just we'll get a gauge. What are those feelings? Is it just sadness, disappointment?
Sad. It's sad now. I'm sad
Yeah.
because there's nothing I can do
Yeah.
in this relationship is there is none.
Okay.
And this
How do the people around you react? Did your father see this was happening?
for the first time in my life, my dad said he loved me afterwards. My
Oh,
mom wasn't around.
oh,
He
okay.
said he loved me for the first time. He saw what happened.
Okay. He saw what happened. He didn't intervene. Everyone just sat back and let it play out.
No, my dad
Yeah.
never intervened. It's always me. It's
Okay.
just me all the time.
Okay. That's fine. That sort of makes sense when some power play or some weird scene is happening, probably everyone was a bit surprised or shocked, and they're like, well, was he or other people around that watching? Were they a little bit like, oh, so I don't want to get involved in this, or maybe I'm a bit scared of her as well, and I don't know
I
what's good.
wasn't paying attention to them.
Okay. Did you feel any animosity towards him? Like, why didn't my dad stand up for me? Or were you just in
No,
the. Okay,
no.
okay. And just the way it was, the mother, she's just a commanding presence. No one's going to step in. And it was just between you and her, and that's it. But he saw what happened. He must,
Yeah.
and then he must
He
have.
divorced her a long time ago.
Okay, okay, okay. So it's like, well, I kind of know how this woman is, and I divorced her. And so I don't have to put up with this stuff, and I don't want to get involved and get in a confrontation or whatever with
He
her.
never got involved ever.
There you go. So that's his way of not having to deal with your mother, really, isn't it? But then
I
if,
would stick up for him, but
yeah, okay. But then you're the daughter, so you can't really divorce your mom. But he could divorce her, and it's like, I don't have to put up with that nonsense. But he was sort of, he might have been confused, what's up with my wife? But he was like, there's no way to reconcile this. I'll divorce her, and I'll still see her. We're still parents, and we'll still sit next to each other and
no, he would
support our
if
son.
he would not want to, if he didn't have to.
Right, but when he has to, he'll do it. He could have sat. Were you sort of, the three of you were sitting basically together?
I was sitting below them. My dad was sitting to the right above me. My mom was sitting to my left, but they
Okay,
weren't sitting together. They were a
okay,
few people apart.
I see. Okay, so they're in general proximity, but yeah, he keeps his distance, but he
Yes.
doesn't, not completely blanked her out totally. And then so he's just
He was not paying attention to her. He was ignoring her. He wasn't talking with her.
okay, fair enough. That's his way of handling the situation and keeping his own peace of mind and mental health and just not getting involved. And okay. And so therefore, I mean, he's not going to intervene. He wasn't sitting right next to it. He might have sort of seen it from a distance, but he's got his strategy of not paying too much attention, not getting involved, not interacting with his ex-wife. But he did see enough to see that he must have seen, there's she's doing her old tricks, being mean to my daughter. And so what do you think he was thinking or feeling as he saw that, and what was happening when he came up and said he loved you for the first time?
It was a side of my dad I'd never seen before.
Yeah. Okay. So tell
It's
us.
almost like he took ownership of being my father.
Okay.
Almost. I don't know what it's like to have a mom or a dad,
Okay.
but he told me he loved me. And I know it's because he saw that.
Okay. Well,
It's the first time and the only time he's ever told me.
okay. So we can have like that bittersweet time when you're there playing in the pool with your friend, and you're laughing, but it was the last time, and we can have a sweet bitter time, a sweet time that turns bitter, but now we can have a bitter time that has some sweetness in it, which is, it's like, why did my mum do this? Well, that's just kind of how she is. But what did it mean? Why, many times this has happened. Why did your subconscious bring up this time? Because it's one where your father saw the meanness happening to you, and he said, oh, I saw my daughter having, a lack of love displayed to her by her mother. I'm not the kind of person who says or does this, but I am, and I'm not going to speak up about some earrings, but I will speak up to my daughter and say, hey, I just want you to know I do love you. So it's a pretty powerful, interesting message. So, no, how does it feel to look back on that time, and what does that say to you?
I should believe that my dad loves me now, even though he's absent.
Okay. So, well, yeah, when he said that to you, for the first time, how did it feel to hear those words?
I don't know.
Okay.
I felt justified in my being in a way.
So yeah, let's replay that scene. So you'd been sitting up in the bleachers, but then when was it that you came down? Where was it that you had this interaction with your dad?
My mom was somewhere else. It was after the ceremony.
Yeah.
We were still by the bleachers. My brother was there too.
Okay. Yes.
And he was just saying, he loves us. I love you. He never said that before. I don't know if he said that to my brother before. He never said it to me before.
Okay.
And it wasn't directed towards my brother because of graduation. It was directed to each of us individually. I know
Okay.
that.
Okay. Okay. So this is a ceremonial time to acknowledge and recognize all that your brother had done as a graduate, and it could have been all about your brother, but your father made a point of saying, we're here to honor and congratulate and thank brother for his work, service, etc. But also sing like, you too, as a daughter, I want you to know. Maybe I haven't said it, this is not the kind of guy I am, but to hear those words, when he said it, did you believe him?
Yes. Yes. I believed him.
How did you
I
feel?
believed him.
What were your emotions?
It made me feel good.
Yeah.
It made me feel special.
Yeah.
It made me feel that it's okay. I'm okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay. So let that be there. It's okay. I'm okay. My dad does love me.
But now
Yeah.
he shows me differently.
Okay.
So I'm confused.
Okay. Okay. So this is why we go back to these key significant moments. And so we've got that but there, but there are many causative events in the past, many things that can be confusing. And there are some people who aren't really capable of showing love and are more likely to, but in fact, we'll come back to this in a second. But for now, we'll just replay. Your subconscious has been doing great and going through these stories. And so we'll go back and review some of these scenes. Review the scenes. And so we'll go back and review some of these scenes so we can see that time. We'll be able to take back some of this wisdom and knowledge that you've got as an adult. And so you can coach the younger you. So how are you feeling then? And so we can go back and we can recall that we've got your brother here when he was 19. We can remember that all this started when you were 12, you're in the backyard of in your pool, you're laughing with your friend. She was acting like a model. You're free to be with her. She was your peer. And you were just two girls together having fun. And uh, now, strangely enough, because she was a little bit younger, your mother said, oh, you can't play together, which doesn't make any sense and is confusing. And looking back, we can know that doesn't make any sense. Then I had to go and play with someone 5 years older. Shouldn't it be better to even hang out with a younger one who's probably going to be less of an influence or more of a positive, pure person? And why would you hang out with the older girls? They could just, that's probably worse idea, you know? And so it doesn't make any sense. So what we learned there is your mother does things that don't merely make a lot of sense. And in fact, it's the opposite of sense. A younger playmate's probably better than an older one. The older ones might lead you into older activities that you don't want. And then we found this wise so we've got an adult there, but she's not that wise. She's not making a lot of sense, is she? And she's sort of breaking up your party and your fun with this nice, very good friend of yours. But then we found this wise adult part of you. So you're there with your brother, you're 11, you're in their house in Germany, and you're telling him your dreams, and he's crying, thinking they've already been realized. And you're like, hey, you can do that. You can just sing now. And he stops crying, and you're able to help him through. Like, he was confused. He was like, oh, does that mean that you're going to sing and we're going to be separated? You're like, no, we can be together, or we can both sing now in this moment. And you're able to help.
Protect him.
That's right. You could protect them and show love. And and then we learn that part where that wise part of you has got balance and accepting how the world is and finding your way through it. So there's an element of protecting somebody, but the world's a bit rough. So you can protect people, not necessarily by hiding away. Even your brother's helping protect freedom and the free world by being a Marine. And protecting people, there's a courage and a clarity and a skill necessary to be a Marine. You're trained in all the skills, so you can protect people, but do it as safely as you can. But you also need a courage. And you don't protect people by pretending the world's not a bit of a rough and tough place. Some parts of the world are pretty rough. And we need law and order to go and help those people so they can be free and not subject to dictatorial regimes. And that's part of what these strong people who come from. They live in a great country where it's less of an issue, and they're still willing to help and maintain freedoms. So there's a power there. And there's a power where you're able to help that one. He's just a little boy then. He's still junior to you, and you can help him through these things. But you can take that wisdom. And if you can go back to that 4 years old you who's in the park. And so knowing what you know now, you can see the you that was there. And it was the first time. And she was shocked and confused, but she was also like, oh, whatever, I still had a good day. Mother doesn't seem to care about me. This is kind of not what I would have expected, but if that's the way she is, okay, whatever. I'll just shake it off and just continue on with my day and keep playing with my brother who's cool. And so can you notice as you replay that scene and see that again with some of this adult wisdom that you know, what can you just see that little that little you there in the park? And can you imagine she's confused? Can you go and give her a hug? So what happens is
Yes, but
yeah, yeah,
she's the wise one.
okay, that's it. And so as you see that scene with that wisdom, maybe the scene can change or just be a little bit different. Maybe something new can happen. Maybe there can be a different emotion. Maybe the brother goes up and gives the rocks, and this wise one knows, oh, mother doesn't really care about rocks or not that interested. Maybe I won't even give her the rocks. Or maybe I'll go up anyway and say, here they are. And she'll like, oh, I've learned something about my mother. That's how she is. So I just won't do that stuff around her or whatever. So if you can imagine playing this scene again in a
I
new
play it
way.
back, I throw the rocks at her.
Okay.
I'm so angry.
Uh-huh. Okay, that's it. I kept asking you, sad, angry, whatever. You're like, no, no, shocked, confused. And now we've got anger. So that's good. So let you can be honest. And so notice that. And so what are the thoughts and feelings that come with that?
Why?
Yeah. And that anger. So what happens? What you could have said, oh, like I won't even bother showing you the rocks, or I will show the rocks, but I'll get the close-up version of throwing. And when you throw them, what happens to the rocks? You throw them in a direction.
I throw them at her face.
Okay, and do they connect?
Yes.
And what happens then?
I run so fast.
Okay. Okay. And what happens?
Thinking, feel anything else. If I were to play the play it, that's what would happen.
Okay.
That's what would happen.
Okay. And so
If I were to teach her, if I were to give her any of my wisdom now, that's what I would tell her to do. I would tell her to throw the rocks in her face.
okay. Okay.
That's why she's so much wiser than I am.
Okay. And so she stands up for herself, and she's not, and so she's pretty clear. Like, maybe I did something wrong. Why did I do this? Am I bad? Should I do something better?
I didn't throw the rocks at her, though. That is my wisdom from now, telling her to throw the rocks at her.
I see. Okay. Okay.
That's why I said she's the wise one, because she just let it go off of her shoulder.
Okay. And she's honest with her emotions. And so this thing, this anger, is anger at injustice. So before, you were shocked, confused, questioning, maybe I'm not good enough, maybe I'm wrong, maybe my brother's better than I am, maybe I need to do something different. But in this scene, no, you know what? I was a nice little girl. She was out of line. I shouldn't get punished or be confused. I'm angry because the just thing would be I don't shouldn't be punished. She should be punished. And I'll punish her by this. And should I learn that I shouldn't give rocks to my mother? Should I learn that I shouldn't be playful and be nice and try to be engaged with my parents? No. The answer is my parents should be a little bit nicer to me. And if they're not, then they're the ones at fault and they're the one who have to pay the price. And if that means they get a rock thrown at them, maybe that'll learn. You'd be nicer to your children. You'd be nicer to me. Don't treat me like that. That's not okay. You learn this lesson, old lady. Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, but not to that little girl at that moment, because she is free. She's unaffected by it.
Yes.
Most part.
Beautiful. And so then this honest feeling of anger or fighting for justice or sticking up for yourself, this takes care of a lot of the shock and confusion. Well, the shock is like, why is she acting like that? But the confusion is like, well, that's not appropriate. I'm not that confused. And I'll stick up for myself and no, you can't treat me like that. And I'm just going to go and have fun with my brother anyway. So you still kind of like shake it off. You vent and release some of the anger, but you're not actually throwing the rocks. It's just a part of you, which is like just saying, I don't take all the blame for this. There's some punishment for you, and that's it. So does it feel better? How does it feel to look and see this scene in a new way?
I feel guilty for telling her to throw the rocks. I feel guilty for standing up for myself because she really didn't hurt me, right? It's not like she hit me. It's not like she.
Well, I tell you what. Maybe is it enough to say I stood up for myself and I didn't take all the blame, and I was honest about some of the anger and hurt that I felt, and I'm gonna just vent some of that. And so it's and kind of being guilty is just shows again, like I'm not doing this because I'm a hateful, angry person. In fact, I actually prompted you quite a bit just to see. That's a valid question and it's a valid response, really. I think you're allowed to be a little bit angry. And I think you're even allowed to feel a little bit guilty afterwards. And then you're allowed to feel like, okay, that all balances out. And I, before it was unbalanced. I'm confused, guilty. She acted badly and she got away with it. Okay, now I sort of feel like part of me wants to act badly, but that's honest. And there's a kind of clarity and honesty to that. And then I feel guilty about it. And then I'm like, oh, I don't really want to act that way. So you're right. In a way, the answer overall isn't let's go around throwing rocks at people. But in this moment, this one little 5-10 seconds, I think it's okay to go through that. This is how I really feel. I wanted to do that. Now, in reality, I'm not really a rock thrower, but I think it's useful to have that as a venting and honesty type thing anyway. So I think you can feel okay about it. Do you feel okay about it?
Yes.
Okay. And
Yeah.
it's just for this moment. It's just a replay. It's a thought experiment. And I think
Yes.
it's quite healing to be able to do that just for this moment, just as a way of replaying it in a new way that can make you feel empowered. So I think it's
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. So it's empowering for you to be able to do that. I've got some power and I've got some wisdom which knows it's right. And I've got the power to know that, I can feel a bit guilty and I can feel good about feeling a bit guilty. And I can feel good about feeling a bit angry. I can let it all go and I can just end up being at peace and balanced and just go and play with my brother. So it all ends up fine. But it's the empowered thing is the key. Whatever it takes to get a
Yeah.
bit empowered and to just see this in a new way. So yeah.
Yes.
So what new meaning does that have for you if you put it in your words?
I know don't I don't react out loud.
Yeah.
That I can know that it's not me, it's not all me. I'm not at fault 100% that
Yes.
someone behaves that way towards me.
Exactly. That
It's not fair, but it's not me.
exactly. That's the key thing. You're not taking the blame. You're not that confused about, she's perfectly right and I'm perfectly wrong. No. So there's an empowerment there. And so you can take this empowered wisdom where you can sort of, and you are kind of like the wiser one there, the adult one, or the one that's your wise adult self is there, and she acted better. Your little you kind of ignored it and kind of tried to pretend it didn't happen. The mother acted in a way which is like also not that skillful or wise and a bit mean. But this you then become the adult to that scene. And so now we can replay a next scene where you can be 13 in the bathroom in Arkansas with a jewelry broken. It's like, I know she did this. And so there was confusion, loss, emptiness. But and uh, and it can be like I want to protect myself or hide away from fear or from anger or from sadness. Was there any anger or sadness in that moment? We can,
Yeah, there was anger,
yeah,
but but uh, but I can't let that can't be. I can't allow anger to.
yeah. Okay. And so, exactly, here's the thing, we don't want to be an angry person or let that take over, but we can be honest if we feel it for some moments. Because if we let it come up and see it and then let it go, that's fine. But if it's there and we push it back down and pretend it's not, then it can stay stuck, pressed down for a while.
How dare she?
Yes. Replay the scenes. Good. So as you replay that scene, how do you see it again differently this time?
It's just not right. It's not right. She has
Yeah.
no right to do that.
Yeah. Yes. That's it. So that's better. So there's allowing a little bit of that anger, a little bit of that how dare she. This isn't actually a little bit of anger is a bit of an antidote to fear and confusion. So it's like, I'm angry because I know what she did was wrong. She was not right. I'm angry that people are a little bit not right. And so I can be lost or confused or empty in myself because how am I supposed to do the right thing? So before you're concerned about how do I do the right thing, and I can never do the right thing. And I'm scared to ask her. And but this, if you bringing in some of this different energy means I'm a little bit angry. How dare she? And she wasn't right to do that. I know what's right. And then that answers your question. What am I supposed to do in future to avoid this? Why did she break it? She broke it because she was wrong. She broke it was because she broke a law. You're not supposed to go and damage other people's properties. So why did she do it? Because she acted in a wrong way. There's no real reason. What could I have done different to make things better so this wouldn't happen? Nothing really. She's just kind of like that sometimes. She makes mistakes. She takes stuff. She breaks stuff. She shoos stuff away. It's just kind of how she is. So what can I do better was your big question. What do you think the answer is now?
Nothing.
Nothing. And so before, you spent a lot of years trying to figure out the thing that you could do. And that's why you get lost, because there is nothing to do. And the only thing you can do is have the realization, I'm not bad. I'm not even confused. Like, I don't understand, you said. But I don't understand how somebody could be that wrong is a better clarity. That they are, so that's just the way it is, so I just accept it. And what do I have to do different? Well, nothing. Maybe I just makes me change the way that I interact with my mother. Maybe I just ignore her. She's going to be like that. That's what my dad does. He's created space from it. He feels a bit better now, probably. So knowing what you know now, looking back at this scene with these things that you discovered you had before, it's like, I don't understand. Why'd you break it? I'm lost. I'm emptiness. I'm never enough, you said. Looking back now with an empowered clarity and honesty of emotion, and how would you replay that scene and tell that 13-year-old you, what would you say to her?
It's unacceptable.
Okay. My mother's actions are unacceptable.
Unjustifiable.
Yeah. Okay. Unacceptable. Yes. Unjustifiable. Well, that's good. So you're here to get justice. And what she did is unjustifiable. There is no justice in it. And so you're here to fight for justice, to stand up for yourself. And the way that, how we fight for justice is if somebody breaks the law, then they have to face justice. And the confusion is, did they break the law or not? Am I wrong? Are they wrong? Let's go to the judge. But
She's
here,
my mother. Everything she does is right.
yeah. And so where did that thought come from?
That's why I remain passive.
Okay. Well, so there's a limiting belief. That's a little bit like, oh. And so what can you tell yourself about that thought, that knowing what you know now? But
That it doesn't matter.
yeah.
I'm still a human being. I still have rights,
Yeah.
regardless of how old I am, regardless if my mother is telling me differently or showing me differently.
Yeah. Okay. So that thought, everything my mother does is right, is that a correct thought?
That's how I was made to believe.
I tell you what,
I was the child, she is the adult.
You're right. But here's the thing, and that kind of thought does make sense and probably is okay when you're little. Because if a little child decides to just do what she wants, she'll be running out on the road and be unprotected. And you were the child and she was the adult. And so it's probably quite helpful that we should be obedient to our parents. But times have changed. Now you're an adult. And everything that she does, even back then, probably it wasn't right, but it was still good to act as if that was the truth. And that's what a good girl will do, isn't it? But
Yes.
it was never really true. Like we know now, when you're a little girl, you think maybe it is true. We know now parents are imperfect. They're just doing the best they can. Sometimes the best they can isn't that great, but which is quite far from everything they do is right, isn't it?
Yes.
But we know now as adults that's really the case. So, but you acted as if it was true. But now things have changed. Now you're the adult. You're no longer 4 or 5 years old. You don't need to follow or do what she says. And so this can be a time where I reclaim that power. This belief that was embedded in me at a young age is now, it was never 100% correct, but it was useful. Now it is, we can see that it was never really 100% correct, not even that close to. And now it's unhelpful, unuseful. Now you're the adult. You have the adult power, and you're here to be empowered, to claim that power, to know the law of the universe better, that it's not right to break property. That's unjustifiable and unacceptable. And so a little girl might naturally just, throw something and then just go on her stuff. But now, how would you as a 13-year-old replay this, knowing it's unacceptable, unjustifiable? Why is she doing it? There is no reason. She's wrong. This is just how she is. How am I supposed to deal with this? And so how would you replay that scene now, knowing what you know, and cut through the conclusion and come up with some different emotion, maybe different action, maybe different feeling? How does that 13-year-old scene look?
I would ignore her.
Okay.
I would cut that part out of my life.
Okay.
Because there's nothing I can do differently.
Okay.
And my time, I'm lovable. I'm a good person.
Yes.
I need to surround myself with such.
Okay. Okay. So that's great. And so can that 13-year-old there, that 13 years you, who was confused, felt lost, empty,
Stop putting so much emphasis on what she thinks and how she feels. I'm not responsible.
Yes. Okay. Okay. And so as you do that, notice, can you go and give that 13-year-old you a hug and send her that energy and message? How does it feel to do that? Knowing what you know now, telling that 13-year-old?
It's a different feeling. It's a foreign place.
Okay.
But warmth can grow into this. Right now it feels a bit cold.
Okay. 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 Well, that's okay. In fact, from there we can know that's our intent. You've got the insight. I would ignore her. I'd cut her out more. I can't do any better. That's just the way she is, and I'll just ignore it. And I'll know that in fact, here's another thing. When you're 13, you think, oh God, I have to put up with this for 5 more years. Can you just tell her, hey, babe, you're going to be 18. You're going to go to
16.
Okay. Well, you're gonna get out of here. Okay, that's it. So you had made that decision, and you're gonna go to LA. You're gonna get away from her.
My mom kicked me out when I was 16.
Okay. Okay. Well, just to know that you're gonna be living in LA, living your life, and you will get away from her. I want to cut her away and avoid her. Well, I'm 13. I have to live with her all the time. But knowing that 3, 5, 8 years from now, I'm going to have my space. I'm going to grow into an adult. I can take care of myself. Just for that 13-year-old to know that I am lovable. I can't do any different. I don't have to. But what I will do is be in a different house, and my life will be different, and it'll be better. So cool. Can you let her know that?
Yeah.
Babe, we're going to LA. We're going to get out of this.
Your feelings matter.
Yes.
You don't have to push them aside and pretend you don't exist.
Exactly. So coach that younger you. Your feelings matter. You don't have to push aside, all anger, or you're allowed enough to notice when something's unjust and unjustifiable and unacceptable. Just enough to stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
And so if you can coach that younger you, and that's great. In fact, we can go to the next scene now, which is, so 19, I flew down from LA to go to San Diego. And so, hey, yeah, it's true. I got out of there. I didn't come with my mother from Arkansas. I came down from LA. I was only 19, and I was in San Diego, saw my brother. And then we went through the stuff, and it's like, oh, and before, it's like, oh, what a shock. Mum's being weird about some stuff. She broke my jewelry. She didn't want I offered her stuff. She didn't want it. She stole or broke my stuff. Now I gave her stuff when I'm a kid, that's all I had. I offered her these beautiful rocks. She's taken the rocks out of my ears. Like, why? Well, this is her pattern. This is how she is. This is why my father's not sitting next to her. He's ignoring her, not paying attention. You want the rocks? Here, have them. You could have thrown them at her or screamed at her or fought her about it, but you're like, no, have them. So notice the way you acted. You didn't get angry and you didn't fight about it. You're just like, oh man, here she goes again. And so as you see that again, knowing what you know after everything we've gone through, he's even seeing how your father reacted. He's not sitting with her. He's not getting drawn into it. He could have intervened and stood up, and there could have been a dispute about it, and you could have gone to court. And it wasn't just, but like, so what? If you're going to be like that, take it. Just get out of here. And then that lets me, but there was a bit of a blessing in this, and that it probably prompted your father. Now, you hadn't been quite honest about some anger being there, and I sort of dug it out a little bit, isn't it? Maybe your dad hadn't been quite honest about, I actually love you. But he'd sort of seen this and thought, oh, maybe this is a good time for me. Maybe she needs it. Maybe I will break down my little wall and I will tell her, at least for this moment, you know what, I actually do love you and I mean it, and you believed it. So as you see this scene again, what do you see or know? How can you coach yourself through it? And what can you tell that 19 years old you? How does it look? So as you replay it, how does it feel different, look different? Are there different things that you might say or do?
Based on what I know now,
Exactly.
don't dwell on those words.
Yeah.
Those words mean something different to you than what they must mean to him.
Okay. Well, actually, what about the earrings? So if she says,
That I
so you could say, no, that's unjust, I'm keeping them. You could throw them at her. Here they are. Throw them on the ground, pick them up. You could be angry and tough about it or whatever, which maybe is fine, but you would still just do the same thing, but just go, that's how I have them. I'm not getting involved. I'm not going to act like you. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not going to scream at you. I'm not going to fight about it. I'm not going to be mean and weird like you are being now. Just, I'm not going to play that game with you. Have it go. Okay. Okay. And so that's how you deal with her. And so that's still that thing. I'm not getting involved. So it's that same solution. And so as you look at it, what did I do? Why is she so mean? There was confusion. And you said you weren't angry, but I want to know because I want to make it better. I'm sad. There's nothing. Exactly. So this is the new clarity you can bring. That's what you said the first time round. I want to know why she's so mean so I can make it better. What can you tell to that nine? That's what 19-year-old said, 20 minutes ago. What can you tell that 19 years you now, knowing what you know more? Yeah. 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 Yes. Exactly. It's just her being weird, or just doing this. That's what she does. That's what it is. That's just how it is. The world can be a bit weird sometimes. People can be a bit weird. And it's not nothing to do with me. So like, I want to know why so I can make it better. So that was your question. Why is she like this? What did I do? Well, I didn't do anything. And she's like this because she's like this. End of story, isn't it? That's it. So it's a pretty simple answer. Why is she like that? Because she is. And then that's pretty much the answer. Well, then what does that mean for me? Don't be like her. Don't get involved in her stuff. Is that, or how would you say it? Yeah, beautifully. And you can do that physically, but you can also do that mentally and emotionally. Because part of the question you're asking, why is she like that? What did I do? What can I do to that's mentally not separating. That's meant Yeah, e- exactly. So you were still mentally connected while you were trying to figure out the answer to an unuseful question. What did I do? Nothing. So that's the answer. What can I do better? And so now, once you've answered those questions, you've separated yourself mentally. So you don't, yes. And that's the insight. Isn't that amazing? You're even the very first time, like, why am I in these relationships? Why do they hate me? And so the answer is like, who cares? Like, why? Like, the answer to that question does it, there are no answers. It's just like they're like that because they are, and I'm fine anyway. Like, why do they hate me? They're just, that's, don't know if they do, and that's their thing. Got nothing to do with me. It really doesn't have anything to do with you, isn't it? Isn't that funny? Isn't that freeing? I can separate myself from those questions, from those doubts, those confusions. There's nothing extra that I need to do. I'm already perfectly, I'm doing fine as I was. There was nothing I could have done different, really. Nothing I have to do now. I'm free from all of that. So, how does that insight feel to you? Beautiful. Beautiful. And so we can notice that moment, even if mother never really capable of saying, I love you, father, not much either. But he did. He said it and you believed it. And so, yes. And so your mother wasn't capable at all and said some weird stuff. Your dad, capable of saying it once, you believed it. Your spirit guide, capable of saying, yes, I love you. You are love. You're loving. Your brother, you love him. Your friends, you love him. You're playing and having this wonderful time in the pool. And you're honoring and you're him. And so you've got your friends and many things that you went on and lived your life. And so now you can be fully adult and claim that adulthood and be free fully from any of the questions or confusions. You can acknowledge any injustice and unacceptability, and a little bit of anger is allowed to be in there, because then you, rather than putting it down, you can let it come up, see it, throw it away. Like, you can throw out the stones, whether it's, and you can throw away other things that you don't need, and you can do that in a way which you can feel comfortable with. So it's without guilt. You can be honest about the feelings that you have and express them. Your dad, honest, he said he loved you at that point, and you honestly feel love towards your brother. And you feel that love from your spirit guide. And that to me is really part of just your own being that is loving and is connected to the universe and there's a deep loving quality within you that was so reluctant to even call somebody else unjust or unacceptable, or to see injustice in it. You were trying to see the good in them all the time, almost to a fault. But you can see the world without any naivety, see it for the ups and downs, but even so, then not be bitter towards it, still seeing the world as it is and not putting on blinkers that block out the darkness, but seeing it and being able to therefore navigate your way through it with balance. And so as you do this, it becomes a new thing. And how much of those can you release? Release emotions and beliefs. Your hands were moving and you can release those things. How much of those old, out of date emotions, how much of those can you release? Maybe it makes sense when you're a kid, oh, she's always right. Or maybe, I've got my emotion, I'm trying to please them. But any of those old, outdated emotions, residues that led to confusion or heaviness or pain, how much of those can you release because of the insights you've had today? 50%, 60,
I
70?
can release uh, a lot, a lot of the feeling like a victim,
Okay.
wondering about the victim. I feel like I can that a lot of that is released.
Okay. Do you say
Yeah,
what, 50, 60, 70% as a percentage?
I'd say 75, 80%.
Okay. And so we can acknowledge that. And so let's say 75, 80%. So you can breathe in this freedom, this clarity, and these boundaries. I ignore that. I move beyond this. So you can exhale any of the things that you've been holding in because of it. any anger, any fear, any guilt, any doubt, any worry, and release and let go. So breathing in the freedom, the peace, the empowerment, the joy, the love that can take its place. And exhaling into those old emotions that you no longer need. That's it, letting them go. So how does it feel to release and let that go?
It feels good.
Okay. So while you're here, is it appropriate to need to release another 5, 10, 15, 20%? What do
I would like to, but now I also have anger.
Okay.
But it's a anger that I know I can handle. It's okay.
Okay. Yeah. And so a little bit of fighting for justice, standing up for yourself, that's okay. And I told you what, so
Yeah.
we'll leave it at 80%. I think that's fine because we're doing a 3-part process. So 80% is amazing. The insights that you've had and the layers that you've peeled back is really great. So you've gone, this insight to go beyond questioning doubt, and to go into a little bit of anger that fights for justice. And we can process that in the next session. But for now, the confusion, the doubt, the I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, all those things, it's like, that's not acceptable, that's wrong. I separate myself from that. I don't resonate with it or connect it. I don't repeat it. I'm not going to be doing the things that she's done. I'm not going to play her game. I'm not going to go around, you broke this, I'll just break these diamond earrings before I give it. None of that stuff. You're just like, honestly, I don't understand it because we're so different. And I'm not going to learn from you how to be like you. I'm going to do it my way. And that's a new and better way. And you're in the process of doing that and you're doing great. You're letting 80% of all those old emotions, and we're about to deal with the rest later. But for now, you can feel great knowing your subconscious has a wonderful ability to generalize. So it can release outdated emotions and thoughts that can be related directly or indirectly to your issue. So these old issues, emotions, thoughts, beliefs, and blocks can dissolve away. And these can be like old programs. I'm programmed to think, oh, she's always right. She never was, and she certainly isn't now. So, mirror. And so those old programs, those old limiting beliefs can be on an old black and white TV screen with a roller that can just roll easily away, getting smaller off into the distance, because you're choosing this new way and the future benefits that come on a big, bright movie screen. So you've seen how you can write and rewrite, how you can act in these scenes and react better, because now you're able to be the performer and star and be the director to make this better movie for you now. So if you can tell me in your own words, what does this shift that we've made today mean for you?
It means I can go out knowing it's okay to be myself without second guessing or having to question myself, my actions, how it's going to make anyone feel.
Yeah.
Because I know that I'm not going to try to hurt anyone. And
Yeah.
if something does go wrong, it's not necessarily because of me.
Yeah.
I can take ownership for what might be me, but knowing that more than likely it's not, and I'm okay with that.
Okay. And
It's
so,
not going to possess me.
yeah. Okay. So if you can finish this sentence for me, if you could say, but now I know the kind of person that I am is.
Now I know that I am a good person. I am full of love. I come from a place of love.
Yeah. Okay. And the empowering emotions that I feel now are.
I'm good enough.
Okay.
I'm okay. I don't need to hide.
Beautiful. Perfect. And can you say, I've changed now because.
I've changed now because I have a new outlook on who I am. Or I know I feel good about who I am.
Perfect. And I had these old habits. I'll no longer do these old habits because,
Because I know I'm not doing anything wrong.
yeah. And these limiting beliefs are gone because
I'm solid.
I'm solid.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
I'm solid. I high five myself. I'm solid.
Yeah. Fantastic. So you've done great. And so we'll be able to continue on in the next session. You can remember you're solid, you've changed, you're the kind of person you are, the emotions you feel, the habits can change. And so you can say, oh, this change is a little bit unfamiliar, but you can start to get used to it. And you can start to grow into it. And it can be these changes that you've made through these insights in the session become more and more solid, and it can integrate into your daily life in the coming days, weeks, years. You'll be able to continue on to the next session, but for now, you can feel great because you've been able to experience regressions to causative events where you learned many things that can lead you to this place of being solid. It can give you insights into the core confusions that can dissolve because you've got insights. And it can allow you to go through a range of emotions that can have all sorts of ups and downs along the way, but you come out at the end of it empowered, compassionate, nice, caring, loving, and lovable. So, congratulations, you've done great. So, in a moment, I'll count from you up to 5, and at 5, you can come back fully into the moment, feeling good. So, with 1, aware of your body in the room around you, and with 2, and coming back into this time and place with 3. So wiggling the fingers and toes. So with 4, coming all the way back with 5, and eyes open, wide awake with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Eyes open, feeling good. Remembering the mic above your head, and but coming back feeling good. So how do you feel?
Ah,
Post session interview.
wow. Ah, I feel like there's been a shift, or that, like, this this I don't want to call it plastic because that sounds fake, but this something has been almost like a squeegee, like when you take a shower and you want to clean, or you wipe off. I feel like there's a squeegee that's been placed on me
Okay.
and has removed old habits, old ways of thinking, and I feel brand new and clean. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Fantastic. Oh, that's great. That's really great. So yeah, so well done. And so any highlights for you? Like any surprising things or anything you look back and go, wow, I didn't expect that, or oh, that was really cool.
Uh, I think it addresses more of how I know that I'm that this empowered person, and why I'm not able to, why it doesn't reflect itself, on the outside. Um, it's because of how I feel about myself, or how I thought about myself, that I didn't matter. My thoughts didn't matter because everyone else is so much more important. Um, their feelings were so much more important than mine. Uh, and that's not the case. So that's why I was so confused and feel ashamed of myself, because I know that that's not me.
Yeah.
Innately, that's not me. And I'm finding out the reasons why, I suppress a lot of things and allow people to. So, because I just want to keep the peace, basically.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I can still keep the peace, even though, and still stand up for myself.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? Like the way you represented it to yourself or thought about it, it seemed like there's been a shift in that. Like the insights you got were
Yeah.
so yeah, what was the key insight, would you say? Yeah.
Toink.
That yeah.
Um, the feeling that, where it was a switch from what did I do to, hey, that's not cool, because I know I didn't do anything. I know I didn't do anything bad. So that switch, that was an obvious switch from questioning myself to, acknowledging that I didn't do anything, and maybe what someone else did wasn't quite nice. It would have happened regardless. So,
Beautiful. And that really, I'm really glad you brought that up. That really points to, the whole way that we framed the whole issue, isn't it? It's like
yeah.
you came with like that question, why do they feel like this way about me? And it's like, well, how are we gonna, so that's why I was like redefining the issue. So that was the presenting issue, which makes a ton of sense. But it's also like we have to really like pick apart in detail the way this intention that we set going in and how we frame it and how we can find out what's the real issue. And the real issue isn't like finding out why they did it and why they were like that. It's really like, well, how do I, that's how they are and how do I deal with it? And I can do it like this. And
Yeah.
so, the answer to the question is, and a lot, and really thinking really hard about what is the question and what other kind of variations on that question can we ask, and how does that really give us good answers? And you came up with amazing answers and strategies. So you're doing great. Yeah. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark.
Well done. So yeah, so you're on schedule. We've got a 3-session process. So we've done a beginning, middle, and yes, there are definitely some significant things we can do next time to bring some of this together. And there are a few we've tied together. We can tie together a lot of strings. We've tied together quite a few things already in the session, but we can really do some good work next time. So you're progressing perfectly for that 3-session structure. We can have a great session next time and wrap things up for this piece of work anyway. So well done. You're doing great.
Thank
Keep
you.
doing what you're doing.
I appreciate it with your help. Of course, you're amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we're working well as a team. So well done
Yes.
to you too. Great. Okay. So I'll see you next time.
Okay, sounds good.